Hey guys, Eric and Roth here. The Emmy nominations came out today. And Game of Thrones, not too shabby, 24 nominations.
Dominated this season, which is really interesting in the sense that amongst the fan base, this is probably one of the most, I don't want to use the word controversial, but divisive of the seasons, right?
We're certainly getting, in our comments, we're getting a lot of, for this season. But look, at the end of the day, it's a great show. I mean, yeah, I would say that this was a weaker season for them in its totality, although there was still awesome stuff. But yeah, it's still delivering a very quality, series week in, week out.
Absolutely, and certainly in the categories that it's been nominated in, it is. I mean, if you look at it, if you sort of look at those performances alone, right? It's a great show.
Yeah.
It's just, I think, we've come to expect so much from it. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's almost like you get numbed to the excellence.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. Yeah. It's like, okay, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
And when you're delivering it, and when it's just good, you're like, well, I know you can be better because you've done better.
Yeah.
But when you look at other TV, when you look at TV in general, it's not like there's a bunch of shows out there that are, delivering left and right that caliber of series.
Certainly not. I mean, production value alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty unique. So that completely dominated and led. But then first of all, American Horror Story Freak Show.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
19 nominations.
Befuddling.
It's a little weird. Now, granted, it's not in the main categories. It's considered limited series. And I get it. Like Jessica Lange obviously is dependently going to be Jessica Lange, which means she'll be great. But there's still a bit of like, really, guys? Like, it just feels like every year now they're just like, and this is something the Emmys get chastised for a lot, and I think deservedly so, which is familiarity. It's like, oh, we voted for that before.
Yeah.
So here it goes again.
There's so much, and I wonder if this plays into it at all. There's so much television that it's almost impossible to keep up with it all. I mean, certainly it's our jobs to do that, and it's impossible to actually do it. So to me, I'm like, I feel like they just go to the default thing that they knew was good before. Like the same thing with Modern Family. Modern Family keeps on winning because they're like, yeah, that's a funny show. I mean, yes, it's been a great show.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other great shows now.
And you'd hope that these people would be sort of seeing all that other interesting stuff on the sides, but they don't. I mean, we should mention Hannibal wasn't even eligible this year because season 3 debuted so late. In theory, Hannibal could be nominated next year. It won't be, but in theory. But yeah, like The Americans still barely acknowledged as existing, and it's like, which is bizarre considering the critical acclaim it gets and clearly the performances being stellar. But
I think it's more it's weird because with the Emmys it's less about I actually think Oscar, you have a better chance if something has massive critical buzz but it wasn't huge at the box office, like a Whiplash, right? That you can get people to pay attention, at least watch the screener. But with the Emmys, they just, unless it's a big hit show, I feel like they're not watching it.
Maybe though, I mean, I will say, maybe they do slowly but surely here, because Tatiana Maslany, it took 3 years of people saying this is like baffling that she's not nominated. Even if you don't like the show, what she is doing is just so phenomenal. It took 3 years, but she did get nominated this year finally.
Which is that who you're rooting for?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's even just by, default of the fact that it's like, it's just taken too long. And again, Orphan Black, there's been people who think only the first season was great and back and forth on the show itself, but she's so astounding what she does. It's still the fact that you can feel like you're watching 4 different actresses in one scene.
Yeah, I think that she deserves the win for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
It's like a cumulative win at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then other big nominees we should mention, Mad Men for obviously its final run of episodes, and House of Cards both got 11 nominations. But then on the new series front, I was pretty happy to see both Kimmy Schmidt and Better Call Saul got 7 each.
Yeah. I was, first of all, I love Kimmy Schmidt. I just think that I'm rooting for that to win a lot in the comedy category. I don't know that it will because it is a new show.
And Modern Family still exists.
Modern Family still exists, and it'll probably be Modern Family again. I mean, I'd be surprised if it wasn't. And Jonathan Banks was nominated. I love Better Call Saul as well, so I was very pleased with that. Jonathan Banks was nominated for, I think, Best Supporting
Actor,
I mean, You got that episode alone.
Right. Great in general, but yeah, you look at that episode, which was pretty much a gift to him.
We're talking about the Mike Ehrmantraut
which Saul is barely in. Felt the most like maybe Breaking Bad in some ways.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. He just killed it. He just killed it even in the tiny little moments that he was before that. But that episode, to me, I'm like, you got to give it to him.
Yeah. And also just, I think everyone kind of feels like Better Call Saul, look, we were nervous going into it like everyone was because there was this like, maybe you shouldn't mess with something so great and try to spin off or sequelize or prequelize or whatever you want to call it, franchise, but Breaking Bad, but they nailed it.
Absolutely.
And so getting these nominations for what is a spin-off, let's not forget, is pretty, I mean, Frasier in the past, I think, is another show so different, but still showed you could get a very quality spin-off, and Better Call Saul seems to now have mimicked that.
And I think you can't discount Odenkirk. Bob Odenkirk's performance was extraordinary. This is an actor that can play comedy and drama in the same moment.
Yeah.
And I think that it's sort of what he does is so impressive that it's almost, and it's so consistent that people forget how great he is in an odd way.
And there was also some nervousness about him, and I loved him going into this, but there was like, oh, this is different. He is anchoring this show and being asked to do so much more than he was asked to do on Breaking Bad, and I think he's really, really pulled it off and made that character very sympathetic. A lot of people have mentioned that it is interesting that Empire, considering, the caliber of the people involved, and the hype of it, and then what a huge hit it was.
Right.
I mean, it really was like a blockbuster hit in an era when it's very hard for network TV to make that kind of instant hit.
It was explosive.
Yeah, that it didn't get much nominations, none of the notable ones except for Theresa P. Henson, who did get, mispronouncing her name, I think. But anyway, she got nominated for Best Actress. Yeah. But it didn't otherwise get nominated in the major categories.
She made that show.
Yeah.
I mean, she absolutely makes that show. So to me, if she wasn't nominated, I would think that was a real snub.
Yeah.
But it's a very heightened, very big soap opera.
Yeah.
So it's a huge hit. But to me, that's the one that I was like, she better be nominated.
I guess I am surprised they didn't nominate it because you try to like look at the Emmys and how they work, and it's like respected enough.
Right.
And let's face it, Downton Abbey is a soap.
Yeah.
It's a soap with a very fancy trappings to it,
For sure.
And that gets nominated. But I do think, maybe that it was just, they looked at her already a standout going in. And it's not like, they nominated a bunch of really good shows in that category, so you can't really, fault them. Other things, a lot of familiar faces here, which often happens. Even, stuff like Jeff Daniels for The Newsroom, which was never a beloved show, and yet gets the nomination. We'll see. Orange is the New Black, but I am really rooting for Kimmy Schmidt because I feel like
hugely.
Even though we should also mention Transparent because that was Amazon's big. It's really given them their big footprint, their first big footprint.
I haven't watched enough of Transparent, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Kimmy Schmidt, I watched the whole season. Orange is the New Black, I'm catching up with now. I'm about halfway through season 3, and I think they've really been able to maintain that series, which is odd because it's in prison.
Yeah.
It's not like you can get out of this area. So the fact that they're still telling interesting stories, there's so many interesting stories to tell, I think is really impressive.
It's just weird with Transparent that Jeffrey Tambor didn't get nominated.
That is the weirdest part of it.
Very bizarre, yeah. As we're wrapping up here, best drama, do you think Mad Men being its the final year, and Jon Hamm, who I don't think has ever won an Emmy, that they'll do the respect thing? Yeah.
They're going to do the respect. I think they have to.
Yeah.
At this point, it's got to go to Mad Men and Jon Hamm. Not has to in terms of there's not other options for great people and shows, but I do think that they will do that. It'll be a legacy win.
Yeah, I think the same thing. You gotta give it to Hamm. So wrapping up here, however, we should mention this is Roth Cornet's last day at IGN and our final video appearance at IGN.
Yes.
Roth, quick final words.
We shot a podcast that I think might go up after this video.
Yes, you'll see her after. Yeah.
But this is the last video that I'll be shooting, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been cool to us and nice and supportive over the years. It's meant so much to me and makes the day that much better. And thanks for watching. And thank you, Eric. You've been an awesome head of television.
Thank you very much.
He's so good at his job.
Seriously. Wishing Roth very good luck, though, going forward. So thank her, everyone. Thank you guys for watching. For plenty more on TV and Jon Hamm debates, keep it here at IGN.